And now, Kaity Tong, Jack Cafferty, Jerry Gerard with sports, and Bob Harris with the weather. The Emmy Award-winning Channel 11 News at 10.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Sheila Stainback. Kaity has the night off. We begin tonight with a breaking story from New Jersey.
There's a dangerous situation underway in Irvington, New Jersey at this hour. Thousands of gallons of an acid have spilled from a chemical factory there. Dozens of people have been overcome by the fumes and sent to local hospitals. Veronica Mitchell standing by live at the scene with the very latest for us. Veronica, what's happening?
Jack, right now I'm standing here live in Irvington Park. Now, about 3.5 hours ago, there was a spill at a printing factory, actually a factory that produces pigments to help make printing ink. Now, that was behind me on this side. You can't see it right now. They're still working over there. We haven't been allowed in. There was a spill of about 4,000 gallons of hydrochloric acid. Now, behind me, you can see there are people being treated, or there were here a little bit earlier, for a different exposure to the acid. With me here, I have the Deputy Chief of the Irvington Police Department, Jim Galfy. Tell us what you know so far about this.
Well, at about 6:30 this evening, the Irvington Fire Department received a call of some type of a spill, of some sort, toxic spill. They responded and discovered that some type of a tank had ruptured in the Max Marks Color Corporation on 192 Coit Street. When they got here, the spill was actually over. It had ruptured all at once and got into the storm sewers. They later determined that it was a 32% solution of muriatic acid, which is a lower form of hydrochloric acid.
Tell me about the injuries. How bad were they? What were most of the injuries from?
Okay, most of the injuries were nausea, inhalation, and burning of the eyes from residents, people around here in the park. To our knowledge, there was nobody in the factory at the time, and the worst burned person, it seems, the person who got burned was a UPS driver who happened to making a delivery locally.
I understand there was some evacuation of some of the other plants in the area. Can you tell me some more information about that?
We did go around. We did locally evacuate. It is industrial area. It's basically shut down at this point. And we did a limited certain amount of evacuation because, again, there was no plume discovered or any cloud. It was all on the ground and in the sewers at the time they got here.
Thank you very much. As we said, we're live here in Irvington Park, where about 3 hours ago there was a spill of hydrochloric acid, about 4,000 gallons at a factory nearby. There were some evacuations, but right now that's all the details we have for now. Live from Irvington Park, I'm Veronica Mitchell. Now back to the studio.
All right, thank you, Veronica. Pepsi is fighting back tonight with the help of the Food and Drug Administration. The FDA has taken the fizz out of the Pepsi tampering scare, saying that so far it has not been able to confirm any claims of people actually finding foreign objects in their soda cans and bottles. Meanwhile, a Brooklyn man's the latest to be arrested in connection with the Pepsi hoax. Jason Carroll has the story.
This incident in Brooklyn is the latest one involving an alleged case of tampering with the Pepsi can. On Tuesday, a Williamsport, Pennsylvania man is arrested after making a false claim against the bottling company. Since then, there have been several reports of syringes being found in Diet Pepsi cans nationwide, leaving Pepsi looking for needles in a continental haystack. Today, the FDA's commissioner backed what Pepsi has been saying all along.
The notion that there has been a nationwide tampering of Diet Pepsi is unfounded.
Since the tampering scare, Pepsi has been taking a proactive approach to the crisis. Its North American president saying bottling procedures makes tampering almost impossible.
The FDA has been very constructive in trying to help us solve this problem.
Pepsi is fighting back, and now it's armed with a surveillance tape coming out of Colorado. Pepsi says it shows how someone tried to put one over on the company. Pepsi's chairman narrates.
The woman is now seen taking something out of her bag, a syringe. Now watch closely as she fumbles with the syringe behind her bag and inserts it in the top of the Diet Pepsi can. And now the Diet Pepsi can reappears.
The FDA making it clear incidents like the one in Colorado and the one here in Brooklyn will not go unchallenged.
Let me stress one point, and I am serious about this. We will prosecute false reports of tampering. It is a federal crime to falsely report a tampering.
Anyone convicted of false tampering faces a maximum penalty of $250,000 in fines and 5 years in prison. Jason Carroll, Channel 11, News at 10.
Meanwhile, Brooklyn police have released 28-year-old Philip Kirshner of Brooklyn tonight on a desk appearance ticket. He was arrested after filing a false claim involving a can of Pepsi. Police say Kirshner is the first person from New York City to report a foreign object in a Pepsi can. He says he swallowed 2 pins while drinking the soda. Said he woke up this morning with stomach pains while x-rays were taken, and sure enough, pins were found in his stomach. But Kirshner quickly changed his story and admitted to police that he swallowed the pins himself. Police say they have no idea what he hoped to gain by all of that. Sheila?
Well, a bunch of school kids are in big trouble tonight in Yonkers. They're accused of sexually abusing a girl in a schoolyard. What's so shocking about this case are the ages of those accused. They're between the ages of 9 and 13. Ed Miller is standing by live now in Yonkers with more on this. Ed.
Sheila, innocent horseplay or sex offenders learning how to perfect their crime at an early age? It is the hotly debated subject tonight here in Yonkers. While it does involve young children, as you said, Channel 11 News has learned exclusively details about this incident which make it far more grotesque than school officials would have you believe. It happened during school hours with a teacher on patrol in the playground next to this Yonkers elementary school. The details not for sensitive ears. The secret police investigation shows that 5 girls held the 11-year-old victim down. 1 boy pried apart her legs while another mounted on top of her. Even though the child's clothes were not removed, police believe it was a violent sexual attack and have charged the young attackers with sexual abuse.
The only difference between the 4th, 5th, and 6th graders who engage in this type of conduct and adults who engage in it is the form in which they're going to be prosecuted. The fact of the matter is that the conduct is still illegal.
The school believes police are blowing this all out of proportion, saying it was simply horseplay which got out of hand. Angry parents feel much stronger than that, saying that that kind of behavior is criminal and certainly not any sort of game.
She realized it was no game, so that's why she fought him.
Because I got a 6-year-old kid there, and I wanted it to happen to my son.
It happened during school hours, is that true? It's a disgrace. There should be some more, people out here looking out for the kids.
The 8 who were arrested are back in school and classmates of 4th grader Isaiah Sanabria. With the permission of his family, we asked him whether those who were arrested realized right from wrong.
I think it was okay.
These kids, you know these kids, and they think it was okay. Do you think they knew it was wrong to do? Do they know the difference between right and wrong, you think?
No.
No? But they think it was a big game? They think it was a joke?
Yeah.
The ones that were arrested, they think it's funny, right? Is that what you're saying? Yonkers schools refused to suspend the 8 children who were arrested, saying that they need counseling and education far more than a prison cell. School officials very angry that police felt it was necessary to handcuff the children when they picked them up to take them down to the precinct. There is still another problem here, the school not reporting crimes to police. It was the victim's mother who told the cops, and there also have been other crimes that have gone unreported to police, crimes which occurred inside the schools, including at least 1 other sexual assault. Live in Yonkers, I'm Ed Miller. Back to you, Jack and Sheila.
All right, Ed, thanks very much. A Bronx woman faces attempted murder and other charges for allegedly trying to kill her 6-year-old daughter. Kill her daughter by throwing her into traffic on the Grand Concourse. Valerie Coleman has this incredible story.
What happened here? Was it an attempted murder or a failed murder-suicide? Reverend Moses Zapata was an eyewitness.
I thought at that moment that it seemed like she was trying to hurt herself and the child.
The good news is that the child suffered very minor physical damage. The sad news is no one can estimate how much emotional damage was done. The mother, 36-year-old Elizabeth Nice, lived in the neighborhood, an area known for its density of cars and pedestrians. Reverend Zapata says just crossing the street is risky business. The combination of short, fast-changing traffic signals and speeding cars has resulted in numerous fatalities. That's why he was paying careful attention and immediately noticed Nice and her child as he approached the intersection of 187th and Grand Concourse last night.
I honked my horn to let her know, to develop eye contact with her, to let her know that I was going to proceed. And she just flagrantly just stepped out in front of the van.
Zapata says the woman looked very angry, like something was very wrong. As for the little girl,
she seemed frightened and quite tense, especially when they stepped out in front of the van. She was kind of clinging to the mom, really strong.
Tonight, the 6-year-old child is in protective custody. Valerie Coleman, Channel 11 News at 10.
And another woman in the Bronx is accused of drowning her own AIDS-infected child just months after he's returned to her by the courts. Glenn Thompson visits the community, which is in shock after this tragic death.
She said she left the baby in the bathtub with running water, and the chips of paint clogged the drain.
Wanda Benitez rushes to the defense of her neighbor, who is now charged with drowning her AIDS-infected 15-month-old son in the bathtub of her Bronx apartment last week. Wanda says 25-year-old Waleska Ocasio paid a visit to her with her baby just before the drowning.
The day the baby drowned, I was with my nephew and her playing with her baby. And after that, we decided to take the kids to the bath. I came here. She went over there. Then 5 minutes later, she knocked on my door. She told me that her baby was drowning.
Little Armando Ocasio was pronounced dead at Jacobi Hospital a short time later. Her 5 other children, 4 of whom are also said to be AIDS infected, had already been taken away from her because she reportedly abused them. Little Armando was removed after birth from her care, but returned just a few months ago.
All her kids got the AIDS. All her kids got the AIDS. She killed that baby.
Despite charges that Waleska Ocasio was an abusive parent, neighbors who knew her say she appeared to be a loving mother.
Her son was always well-dressed, well-cleaned, well-fed, you know. But she didn't seem like the type of mother, you know, that would do something like that.
It must have been crazy for her to know all her kids got AIDS. She just moved in here and her baby got AIDS. That must be, you know what I'm saying? That could have been a lot of pressure on her.
While neighbors here find themselves in shock, not knowing what to believe, Waleska Ocasio is free on bail, awaiting trial for the drowning death of her baby. In the Bronx, I'm Glenn Thompson, Channel 11, News at 10.
The stories about kids go on. The man accused of strangling his 4-year-old stepson and then throwing his body in a trash compactor pleaded not guilty. 31-year-old Stephen Poole was arraigned today on second-degree murder and first-degree kidnapping charges. Poole allegedly abducted Kayshawn Blackledge from their Jersey City home on May 20th. In a confession to police, he said he killed the boy because he wouldn't stop crying. Poole's being held without bail on Rikers Island. Lawyers for convicted mob boss John Gotti are back in court today. They want a new trial for the Dapper Don. Gotti was convicted of murder, racketeering, and other crimes last year, and he's doing life without parole at Marion, Illinois Federal Prison. But Gotti's new legal team told the Court of Appeals he didn't get a fair trial. They say the judge removed Gotti's longtime attorney, Bruce Cutler, who had won acquittals in 2 previous cases. The government claimed at the time Cutler was a possible witness, but it turned out he was never called to testify.
And the 24-year-old Queens man who tried to rap his way into stardom with a song defending Gotti finds tonight he has something in common with the Dapper Don. He's also in jail. Big Lou Ferranti of Flushing was arrested by Nassau County Police on robbery charges yesterday. They say Ferranti and his partner broke into an electronics store on Long Island and held 3 people at gunpoint while helping themselves to jewelry, cash, and stereo equipment. Ferranti's song received widespread coverage. In it, he compared Gotti to Jesus and called the U.S. attorney in the case a drunk.
We have a lot more news for you straight ahead tonight. U.S. forces wind up their latest actions in Somalia. There have been casualties, but the president's labeling the operation a success.
Somalia is just one of the many topics addressed by the president tonight in his first primetime news conference. We'll have a live report from Washington.
The rumors are rampant once again. The Yankees may be looking for a new home. We'll take a look at some of the possibilities.
And we'll show you the changing world of squeegee window washers. They're bikini-clad and college-bound.
Issue for fugitive warlord Mohammed Aidid. U.S. and allied forces blasted Aidid's strongholds throughout the capital in the toughest UN military action since Korea. 6 UN peacekeepers were killed, 43 wounded in the fighting. Jim Clancy has a report from the battle zone.
Helicopters continued to circle in the skies above Mogadishu, but 12 hours after it all began, silence replaced the chatter of machine guns, the roar of missiles. Before the guns fell silent, there had been plenty of that. During the battle, United Nations gunships devastated General Aidid's headquarters, blasting gaping holes in the walls and floors of his villa and gutting much of the interior. The general fled before UN soldiers seized his compound. Meantime, UN Commander Admiral Jonathan Howe said he ordered Aidid's immediate arrest. The UN force on the ground was bolstered by tanks and armored personnel carriers, and troops searched vehicles in an attempt to prevent arms and ammunition from being smuggled out of Aidid's territory. Opponents of General Aidid staged a pro-United Nations rally in the northern part of the city. supporting international aid efforts and condemning Aidid and his followers as thugs. Jim Clancy, Mogadishu.
And the president is calling today's military action in Somalia a complete success. That was only one topic covered in tonight's primetime news conference, the first formal one of the Clinton presidency. John Aubuchon has the details now from the White House. John?
Sheila, Bill Clinton finally seems to be having a week when nothing major goes wrong. That's faint praise, perhaps, but lately he has had a plate full of problems. President Clinton declared victory in Somalia and said victory at home on the economy is within reach if only the Senate will pass and Congress finally approve his tax hike and spending cut plan. On Somalia,
this operation is over and that it was a success. The United Nations, acting with the United States and other nations, has crippled the forces in Mogadishu of warlord Aidid.
The president said the warlord Aidid is not in custody, but that a warrant has been issued for his arrest. And what to do with him will be a United Nations decision. Senate Finance Committee approval of his economic plan was one of several things that went right for Bill Clinton this week.
This means that we are putting our economic house in order.
Using a series of charts, the president painted some whys and hows of his plan, again defending the taxes in it as a burden mostly on the rich. And he reassured liberals and moderates that he would not trade that for more cuts in social programs, entitlements.
I will draw the line here. We have to reduce the deficit by reducing the unfairness of the tax patterns of the 1980s, and once again, asking all Americans to do what is right and fair. We can't simply balance the budget on the backs of the old, the sick, the veterans, and those who work hard but are just barely making ends meet.
Mr. Clinton said he's close to final decisions on health care reform. His proposals won't come till next month, though, and he still hopes to pass a plan this year. Welfare reform, too, he hopes to squeeze in this year. It was a smooth, confident performance for a president who's in the middle of a charm offensive with the White House press corps.
I'm sorry, that's a great tie. I just lost it for a moment.
He meant it, apparently, because afterward, the reporters sent the tie back to the president. And guess what?
Gene took not the shirt off his back, but at least the tie off his neck.
This was Mr. Clinton's third news conference this week, and definitely an image-burnishing affair, Jack and Sheila, and fairly successful, apparently. Even though no major news committed here tonight, it was largely for image. And as for the bad press, he said, hey, even Thomas Jefferson got bad press.
John, let me ask you, I think back a couple of days ago to the Brit Hume incident when President Clinton was less than pleased at an inquiry from a member of the press corps, and I can't help but wondering how much David Gergen, the new image guru, might have to do with all of this going on down in Washington tonight. Are his fingerprints on this?
You can be very sure that David Gergen has played a major role in what I called a charm offensive. And in fact, a major point in that, you're recalling the Brit Hume incident on Monday in the White House Rose Garden. Well, the very next day, Mr. Gergen made sure that President Clinton was ready to come into the White House briefing room, start with a clean slate, and say to Brit Hume, at least you had a honeymoon.
All right, John Aubuchon in Washington, thanks for that report. Senator Alphonse DAmato would apparently pose a serious political challenge to Mario Cuomo if he decides to run for governor. A new statewide poll by the John Zogby Group of Utica, New York, says the race would be very close if the election were held now. Cuomo would get about 43% of the vote, and DAmato would get about 39%. Another poll out yesterday showed the governor leading DAmato by a wider margin, 46% to 35%. Sheila?
Meanwhile, DAmato apparently had a few choice words for Lieutenant Governor Stanley Lundin, and it wasn't exactly political rhetoric. As our Long Island correspondent Drew Scott reports, the two got into a fight, and the junior senator let off plenty of steam.
Let's say Republican Senator Al DAmato is working too hard and has suffered so many personal attacks, he flew off the handle last Saturday during opening remarks at a rally to save an upstate Air Force base. The New York Post, quoting the mayor of Plattsburgh, says DAmato began cursing with a merciless barrage of the four-letter F word. The anger was vented against a longtime enemy, Democratic Lieutenant Governor Stan Lundin, who today attended a coastal conference sponsored by the Long Island Association.
I genuinely think it was a misunderstanding, and that's really all I can say about it.
Did he use the F word?
I'm not going to say what he said to me. I will say that I think this was such a small incident, I didn't even mention it to the governor.
According to startled eyewitnesses, DAmato was quoted as saying, "You you while pointing his finger at Lundin. The lieutenant governor became flushed with anger and shot back, "Don't push me." Then DAmato shouted, "Get your hands off me." Democrat Mayor Clyde Rabideau, an ex-wrestler, says it was so heated he had to step in between the two politicians. Lieutenant Governor Lundin says no apology from Mr. DAmato is necessary. DAmato supporters and voters, however, say they're surprised at the heat of the rhetoric, and they believe this could be the opening shot of the gubernatorial race.
Stan apparently handled whatever happened with perfect aplomb, civility, and extraordinary strength. I mean, the reports I got was that he just brushed it off. He said, "Look, this is foolish." I'm not sure I would have been that good, but he was very much the man in this situation.
DAmato would not comment on the Post story, but his press secretary issued this statement, quote, "The report of what happened is at great variance with what actually took place," unquote. From Long Island, Drew Scott, Channel 11, News at 10.
Well, the Yankees do call the Bronx home right now, but if owner George Steinbrenner has his way, the team could be moving soon. Steinbrenner says it's time to move Yankee Stadium to a kinder, gentler neighborhood, and he has some places in mind. The boss is blasting the Bronx once again. The team is winning, but it's not drawing, and that, says Steinbrenner, is because fans don't feel safe around the stadium after dark. So George Steinbrenner is setting his sights on 9 possible locations for a new stadium. 7 are around the city, 1 is in Yonkers, and the other is in the New Jersey Meadowlands. Governor Cuomo says he doesn't want to see the Yankees cross the river, so state officials are going to play ball with the boss.
If you leave the Yankee Stadium where it is, you'd have to do, I'm sure, millions and millions of dollars of work around the stadium. If he decided to break that lease, you would have to do something for the Bronx, and you would have to build a new stadium for the Yankees. New stadium for the Yankees would cost hundreds of millions of dollars, but it could be managed.
Cuomo likes the plan the Bronx borough president is pushing. It's called the Bronx Center Proposal and aims to spruce up the South Bronx.
Improvement of the park and recreational facilities here, as well as a new theme high school, as well as commercial revitalization in and around the area.
The Yankees' lease on the current stadium runs through the year 2002.
Well, when the News at 10 continues, former Texas Governor John Connolly was buried today, and some are saying he took a secret about the Kennedy assassination to his grave.
And they're triplets, but they will never celebrate their birthdays on the same day. In fact, their birthdays are weeks apart. We'll explain.
There's a special time for Jerry Sports, and it's going to be coming up. Jerry?
Another hot game at Yankee Stadium. Yankees and the Twins battling as I speak. Meanwhile, the Mets moved on to Pittsburgh, where they hope to find themselves and Jordan. Look back on last night's great game.
When you want Yankee action,
Love to say no, no, no.
buy this sporty Dodge Shadow and make no monthly payments till October. Plus, get $1,000 cash back.
No, no, no.
Own a hot-looking Shadow for as low as $74.47 and make no monthly payments till October.
Love to say no, no. Love to say no.
No monthly payments on Shadow till October. No kidding.
No, no, no.
It happened branch by branch, neighborhood by neighborhood, community by community. Now with over 600 locations in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, and Union Trust in Connecticut, the banks of First Fidelity offer customers the largest branch network in the region. We also offer the strength of over $30 billion in assets, and we will grow stronger, neighborhood by neighborhood, community by community. First Fidelity.
Love to say no, no, no. Love to say no, no, no.
Buy this roomy Dodge Spirit and make no monthly payments till October. Plus, get $1,000 cash back.
No, no, no.
Dodge Spirit. Imagine 6-passenger seating for around $12,100 and make no monthly payments till October.
Love to say no, no. Love to say no.
No monthly payments on Spirit till October. No kidding.
No, no, no.
This story just into our newsroom. An off-duty corrections officer has been rushed to Brookdale Hospital a short time ago. He's in serious condition. Police say he was shot several times in the chest at the intersection of Sutter and Georgia Avenues in Brooklyn. Another person was shot in the leg at the scene. Police are still trying to figure out exactly what happened, find out how many gunmen may have been involved. We'll try to give you an update on the story later in the broadcast. In New Jersey, a family tragedy for Crazy Eddie Antar brought his stock fraud trial to a screeching halt today. A federal judge adjourned the trial after word that Antar's 18-year-old daughter, Danielle Antar, died last night. She apparently suffered from recurrent anorexia and stomach cancer. Eddie Antar was allowed to attend his daughter's funeral in Brooklyn this afternoon. He was escorted by U.S. Marshals. The trial is scheduled to resume tomorrow. Sheila?
Did John Connolly take an important piece of evidence to his grave? The FBI says it would be worth it to try to recover bullet fragments from the late Texas politician in an attempt to shed new light on the assassination of President Kennedy. Connolly died Tuesday from lung cancer at age 76. He was buried this afternoon in Austin, Texas. The former governor and Secretary of Treasury was wounded while riding with President Kennedy the day of the assassination. The question to be resolved is whether a second gun was involved that day. Special agents with the FBI in Dallas are recommending that the Justice Department approach the Connolly family for approval for an autopsy.
The Senate passed a campaign reform bill today that would encourage candidates to accept voluntary spending limits. The bill has the backing of President Clinton, but it was opposed by most Senate Republicans. The bill would set campaign spending limits based on a state's population, and it's designed to allow challengers to compete more evenly with incumbents. The candidates would also receive government vouchers for reduced rates for television ads and for mailings, and the bill would ban contributions from special interest political action committees.
A federal judge has issued a warning to the White House. First Lady Hillary Rodham Clinton may be found in contempt of court after a possible scandal inside her health care task force. Washington correspondent Mark Mooney explains.
In making arguably the most important policy decision of the Clinton presidency, Hillary Rodham Clinton's health care reform task force has labored in virtual secrecy. And it's why a coalition of physicians, public interest groups, and news reporters have pressed a federal judge to open up task force records to public scrutiny.
There's a law passed in 1972 that requires task forces of this nature to conduct all their meetings in public and make all the documents available to the public. They have done that.
It was after Watergate that Congress passed sunshine laws directing public bodies to make their deliberations open for all to see. News reports that task force staffers shredded documents pertaining to health care reform prompted a federal judge to issue a warning that the White House may be found in contempt of court if any documents are missing.
When the public's business is conducted in secret like this, the public policy can't be very good.
The White House calls charges of paper shredding hearsay and unfounded. But a constitutional scholar says the battle taking shape over the preservation of a paper trail has big stakes.
They are. Not only for posterity, not only for history are we saving these things, but for the more immediate future, the next year or so, for the voters to see.
The courts may even step in to enforce the law covering relevant computer-generated material, which, unlike paper, has a limited shelf life, and which can too easily disappear with the mere punch of a key. But if the White House fails to cooperate, the judge might be bound to do what he probably doesn't want to, and that's hold the First Lady in contempt of court. In Washington, Mark Mooney, Channel 11, News at 10.
A multivitamin a day may keep birth defects away for pregnant mothers. A study published in the British Medical Journal shows a daily dose of vitamins, including folic acid, significantly reduces birth defects ranging from Down syndrome, cleft palate, and spina bifida. 4,000 pregnant women in the study, conducted in Hungary, took vitamins almost from the day of conception.
You can definitely call this a true labor of love. A British Columbia woman gave birth to triplets, but it didn't happen all at once. When Joanne March delivered her first baby 10 weeks early, doctors used drugs to stop the labor and the delivery and ordered her to stay in bed. She gave birth to the other two babies 45 days later. Doctors delayed the delivery to give the other two fetuses more of a chance to fully develop. The first baby, Clayton, is in a special nursery for lung problems related to the premature birth, but the brother and sister are reportedly doing fine.
Remarkable.
Yeah.
A lot more news to tell you about tonight. The results are in on whether a park and a baseball field in Edison, New Jersey are safe after high levels of chemicals were detected there.
We will meet two young women who give a whole new look to the annoying practice of squeegee windshield washing.
I think we're also hoping for a new look in weather, but maybe not, huh? Bob?
Maybe not. Yeah, a lot of hazy sunshine coming up, folks, and a real sizzler for tomorrow as the big Bermuda high builds up off the East Coast. And look down here in the Gulf of Mexico. This may be the beginning of the first tropical storm of the season. We'll keep tracking it for you. Stay.
1-800-COLLECT. America's least expensive way to call someone collect.
Updating our top story, evacuations were ordered in a portion of the area around Irvington, New Jersey earlier tonight when acid spilled from a chemical plant there. Veronica Mitchell is live at the scene and has the latest for us. Veronica?
Jack, we have an update now on the amount of injured. They've updated it to 43 people injured. Those were all civilians. They also say 18 firefighters were checked out for minor injuries. 2 police officers and 1 EMS workers were treated here at the scene. Now, as far as a reason for the tank, there was, as I said, there was a huge tank in there filled with about 5,000 gallons of hydrochloric acid. They say a rupture took place about 3 feet from the ground. Now, there was a cinder block dike, that surrounds the tank that is supposed to hold it in case of an overflow. They think that 4-walled cinder block wall did not hold, and that's why the hydrochloric acid came spilling out into the scene. As you can see behind me right now, there's just cleanup going on. They have the spill contained, and that's all we have right now live from the scene in Irvington Park. I'm Veronica Mitchell. Now back to the studio.
Okay, good work, Veronica. Thanks. Retirement was once considered the time in your life when you could spend and enjoy your hard-earned savings. But a new survey says almost half of all Americans between the ages of 50 and 60 do not have savings or pension plans, and they're counting on Social Security alone. The survey conducted by the University of Michigan also found that 1 in 7 middle-aged Americans are without health insurance. Wall Street closed higher today despite sharp losses in airline stocks. The Dow Jones up more than 10 points with a volume of more than 230 million shares. Advancers nudged out decliners by a small margin. Airline stocks took a beating when the parent company of American Airlines issued a warning about its earnings. U.S. Air issued a similar warning yesterday. Jack?
It is one of the most annoying aspects of life in New York City. You pull up to a stoplight and you are set upon by people intent on washing your windshield whether you want them to or not. Well, now the profession has 2 new members who may make it a lot tougher to say no. Barry Cunningham reports on the squeegee girls.
Co-eds in bikinis are upgrading the image of windshield washers in the city. Squeegee guys are usually regarded as urban pests, but these girls can be regarded as an attractive nuisance.
Yeah, if you can have these obnoxious men coming to your cars on 56th Street, why not have gorgeous women making a few dollars, looking good?
Unable to find summer jobs and trying to raise tuition money for Brookdale College, Lynn Tarantula and Christina De Pascal decided to do windows and peddle soft drinks on the side.
It was a joke. The whole thing was a joke. We were driving one day. I'm like, you know, Chris, those guys in New York, they make so much money. So we should go down there and wash windows. She's like, yeah, right. Imagine us washing windows. Yeah, we went to Kmart and got our squeegees.
Pounding the pavement in cutoffs and sneakers, the 19-year-olds from Middletown, New Jersey say they're making about $15 an hour, washing your windows, quenching your thirst, and perhaps fueling your fantasies. In recent months, New York City has seen topless car washes, topless diners, now bikini squeegee girls. There seems to be a certain theme here.
These guys are perverts. That's what they like. That's where the money's at.
What is it about the human breast that seems to have such an appeal for people behind the wheel, hot-eyed motorists?
I don't know. You got to ask them about that. I'm a girl.
The scantily clad co-eds are cleaning up on the Manhattan side of the Holland Tunnel, wiping out business for the regular squeegee guys on this corner.
They're really mad, but what are you going to do? You know, they don't own the block.
Will there now be legions of undressed squeegee girls attending to sweaty motorists stuck in summer traffic? Haven't helped the working girl, and no doubt more than a few will be taking a swipe at it. Barry Cunningham, Channel 11, News at 10.
I ain't saying nothing.
Okay.
When we come back, an announcement today should cut down on accidents inside grocery stores.
Cockroaches are showing up in some unlikely settings these days, and they're fully dressed, as opposed to the squeegee girls. Stay with us. While you're in the aisle, State Attorney General Robert Abrams says the nation's largest manufacturer of shopping carts, UNR, has agreed to install child safety belts on all carts sold in the state of New York. In addition, the company is required to place warnings on every shopping cart saying that children should wear the belts and should not be left in them unattended. A recent federal report indicates falls from shopping carts are among the leading causes of head and facial injuries to young children. Sheila?
The people of Edison, New Jersey suffered a major scare last summer when they found out that their parks had dangerous levels of chemicals in the soil. But there will soon be some happy faces in town because the parks have been given a clean bill of health. New Jersey correspondent Veronica Mitchell filed this report.
No one has heard the words "play ball" on the baseball field here at the Middlesex County College in Edison in nearly a year. But they will hear them soon now that the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is reopening the playing field and the nearby Thomas Edison Park, closed after finding lead, arsenic, and cadmium on the properties.
When the determination was made to close the ballpark, it was based on very limited data, and no health risk assessment had been done. However, that health risk assessment has been concluded, and the results of that are that it's safe.
Both the park and the baseball field sit on the former Raritan Arsenal, 3,200 acres of land used to store munitions during World War II. In January of this year, Army Corps searched both the campus and the park for unexploded ordnance.
We removed 6 tons of TNT. We removed ordnance. We removed munitions.
So far, no contaminants have been physically removed from either the field or the park. But engineers say the contamination levels at the sites are not likely to increase the risk of cancer. But not everyone is convinced. Edison environmentalists question the thoroughness of the Army's investigation and believe mustard agents and other chemicals remain undetected on the property.
I remember when I used to hunt here, there used to be shacks way out in the back that had radioactive isotope signs on them saying keep out, you know, in areas that were fenced in to keep the Army personnel out. This was an arsenal. You know, they didn't keep just firecrackers here, you know, they kept, you know, heavy-duty stuff.
I've gotten a lot of phone calls from people that have suffered adverse health effects, and the Army Corps of Engineers, the EPA, and the state really aren't looking at the health effects from the people that are working here presently.
The reopening of the recreational areas does not mean an end to the investigation of the contamination here. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers will continue taking soil samplings from the area until they can determine the ultimate cleanup requirements in the formal arsenal. In Edison, I'm Veronica Mitchell, Channel 11 News at 10.
Overseas, police in London are appealing to a serial killer who preys on gay men to turn himself in, but they're afraid he'll strike again. 5 gay men have been strangled in the past 3 months. The killers apparently called the police and the news media on several occasions and accurately described the murders. Police say the media attention could spark another killing, but nevertheless, cops used a news conference to ask that he turn himself in. Russian President Boris Yeltsin has agreed to give half the Black Sea Fleet to the Ukraine. The Ukraine was claiming it all, and the conflict threatened to break a 300-year alliance between the two nations. The fleet will now be divided 50-50. The naval base at Sevastopol will be jointly held. The treaty must still be approved, and there's the issue of nuclear weapons. The Ukraine originally agreed to return all its missiles to Russia, but now Ukrainian leaders appear to be having second thoughts about that, so the argument's apparently not over. Still ahead tonight, Bob's back with the advanced word on the upcoming weekend, Father's Day, you know.
Oh, yes. Jerry's going to introduce us to a rookie pitcher who just may be the reincarnation of that weird bird, Mark Fidrich.
Harry Carey back at Wrigley Field. There's Turk Wendell. We're in the middle.
Third annual Unity Day today, celebrating cultural diversity in Brooklyn. It was a fun-filled day for young and old and people of every heritage. Musical performances from Native American dance to African American jazz got everyone's toes tapping. Vendors sold their wares, foods from a variety of cultures on hand to please your taste and mine. This year's festivities were dedicated to slain Principal Patrick Daly, as well as Yusef Hawkins and Yanko Rosenbaum. Jack, reminding us that Father's Day is coming up.
That's correct.
Early happy one for you.
Yeah, I hope so,
Yeah.
yes.
So what are you going to do for the dads this weekend?
Well, I'm going to give a pretty darn good forecast, I think, as long as you can keep your cool, Dad. That's the name of the game for all of us, actually. The next few days, it's going to really heat up around here. 3H weather. But right now, a lovely evening underway. Yonkers City Hall. Dan Higgins doing the videography for us. And here are the present readings coming in from Central Park. Let's check it out. Right now, 73 degrees, the humidity at 64%, our dew point is 60, and the winds are south at 6, and the barometer 30.22 and rising. Skies are nice and clear. It's a pretty day, but you started to feel the heat this afternoon. Mighty strong June sunshine doing its number. 87 was the number this afternoon. We're going to add about 5 or 6 to that tomorrow afternoon here in the big town. The low this morning, 62. And it's going to be just one of those slow and easy kind of weather patterns you're going to have to deal with now for the next few days. No precip, still very, very dry, but the humidity will be building up. Let me show you a couple of interesting features on tonight's weather satellite. Really, hang in here with me. Big area of clear weather over the east. That is a reflection of a huge mound of hot air, which we call the Bermuda High. I told you about this last night, that is taking up residence off the East Coast. Look at the outline of it. You see the big circulation down here in the Gulf. a very large area of disturbed weather which may become a tropical storm. Okay, we're keeping an eye on that. We're keeping an eye on the Bermuda high out here. And look at the ring of fire wrapping itself around this huge high. This is a tremendous area of showers and thunderstorms, about 2,000 miles long, starting in Texas, winding up across the plains and the Great Lakes. Look at that sweep. So you have three big features on this map tonight. The immediate one for us is this hot high off the East Coast. We're going to continue to heat up now for the next few days. Eventually, this front is going to make its move in our direction, and it may introduce the possibility of some showers or thunderstorms late on Sunday or Sunday night. Most of the weekend should be rain-free. Here they are. Look at how they outline themselves along that border, that ring of fire of activity out here along that frontal zone. Eventually, it will move in our direction. I hope it holds off until very late on Sunday so we can get Father's Day in without any problems. The weather fronts are making their move. Warm front, then that cool front approaches, but the big Bermuda hangs in here tough for the next 2 days. That means 90-degree plus heat, a buildup in humidity, and a lot of schwitzing out there, folks. I'm telling you. Here we are, East Coast, hot and humid tomorrow. The showers are in the nation's midsection, and they'll be coming slowly our way. Here's a forecast for tomorrow with the built-in sunburn index at 9. You can get cooked in this stuff, believe me, fast. 85 to 90 for a high, maybe at Newark Airport like 94. Saturday, hot and humid, 93. Then the chance of thunderstorms late on Sunday night. That should be okay for the U.S. Open. They should finish round 4 without any hassle, I hope. Okay.
Looks like a scorcher.
Yeah, that's what it is. A scorcher.
Coming up next, Jerry's back with all the sports.
Also, art, like beauty, may be in the eye of the beholder, but cockroaches as art?
No.
Yeah, you be the judge.
This evening's cultural calendar is brought to you by the car, the American Express car. Don't leave home without it. The godfather of soul, James Brown, performs for one show only at the Westbury Music Fair, Friday, June 18th at 8 p.m. The JVC Jazz Festival presents the King and Queen of Salsa, Tito Puente and Celia Cruz, at Carnegie Hall at 8 p.m. on Saturday, June 19th. The Park Slope Summerfest will be held on Father's Day, Sunday, June 20th, 11 to 7 p.m. on 7th Avenue from 7th Street to Prospect Avenue. This cultural calendar was brought to you by American Express.